Hello everyone and welcome to my video. Today I will be talking about 5 tips for success for beginning educators. So here is an overview of what the video will have in it. First is teaching your students how to love learning. 2, be a mindful and with it teacher. 3, set clear expectations. 4, teach independence. And 5, be authoritative. For your first year of teaching, it can be really overwhelming. So these tips I think are very helpful for your first year and to use all throughout your career. Moving on to tip number 1. So this is teach your students how to love learning. Motivation is a really important part of being an effective educator. So here you'll see there are 2 types of motivators. First, there is extrinsic. This is getting your motivation from outside sources. So this can be praise, rewards, or even avoiding punishment. I've seen this work really well with younger grades because oftentimes they're really motivated just by a sticker or a simple good job. I've also seen it in older grades, but sometimes it is not as effective. I have seen a lot of avoiding punishment as the extrinsic motivators of older grades, and this is just puts a more negative sense on motivation, which does not help with confidence, and I just really do not like to see this in the classroom very much. But I have also seen extrinsic work in a positive way, which was being able to get an extra 10 minutes of free time at the end of class for doing good work. So moving on to intrinsic motivation, this has a lot to do with the loving learning and teaching your students how to do this. This is being able to get your motivation from within. So being able to be motivated because you know it will help in your lifetime, either because it will make them become a better person, or they will gain knowledge from this, or simply from being personally rewarding to them. This can be really, really effective for older students, and I've also seen it work for younger students. Just being able to get them motivated by doing by loving what they're doing, can just be really effective to get that motivation. A way to do this in your classroom is by having fun and exciting activities, because the students will be motivated to do the activities because it is personally rewarding and fun to them. Teaching your students how to have that intrinsic motivation and showing them that they're doing things not for a grade, but to benefit them personally or help themselves in their own lives is really important. Okay, on to tip number 2 is being a mindful and with it teacher. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is desk arrangement. This is something that I never really thought had much importance in classroom management, but it is actually a very, very helpful thing to use, and it's also very quick and easy. So I've seen many classrooms with either 4 or groups of 2 desks put together, and when I asked the teacher who had the groups of 2 instead of 4 why she does this, she stated that her students were not ready to be in groups of 4. This is because when they were in groups more than just 2 students, they would get easily distracted. So she put them into 2, and this helped with management in her classroom. You can also utilize your classroom space by putting your desks in different ways. Instead of just the 2s and 4s, you can do a semicircle one day. If there is a very collaborative thing, or maybe a skit and you want all the students to be able to watch and collaborate with one another. This also will help you be able to make sure you can see all your kids, because being with it means that you are attentive and you know everything that's going on in your classroom. So if you can see all of your students, then you know that you can be attentive. Next, we have nonverbal communication. So this is also important with being with it. You need to be mindful of what the students are doing, what their body language is. They may not always express it on the outside, but being able to see if students look sad, happy, or maybe even overwhelmed can tell you a lot about how they're feeling with the lesson or just in general. And this can also help you prepare for how you can help that student. This goes along with the Maslow before Bloom theory because you have to have your students' Maslow or basic needs met before they bloom, which is the lessons that you teach them. So just seeing their body language and knowing if they're ready to learn will help you be able to teach more effectively. Now, tip number 3 is setting clear expectations. So, setting your rules and procedures from day one is very, very important. All of the teachers that I have observed and interviewed talked about how important it is to reiterate your expectations often, and especially within the first week of school. This helps your students be able to know the expectations and get in the habit of doing their daily procedures. Another thing that goes along with this is being consistent. You have to be consistent in the expectations you set because if not, the classroom won't run as smoothly. I've been in a classroom where I saw the teacher was not very consistent with the students' expectations and the consequences for not meeting those expectations, and it was more chaotic versus the classrooms who did stay consistent in their expectations. The last thing that I have observed with expectations is the use of social contracts. This is where the students are able to make their own classroom rules, and you write those down, and then they all sign it, which is an agreement that they will follow these rules. So this is a really excellent way to have your students feel like they have a say in your classroom. That goes along with the autonomy part of this slide because whenever the students feel like they have a say in the classroom, they're more apt to abide the rules that they themselves have created. On to tip number 4, this is teaching independence. So I think this is really important in the classroom, and I think it is something that is often overlooked. Um, Teaching your students how to be independent will help them throughout their school careers as well as throughout their life because in order to succeed, they have to be able to do things independently. So one big thing that goes along with teaching independence is giving confidence. So your students need to be confident in their abilities in order to feel like they are prepared to be and do things independently. This goes along with the self-efficacy part of this because self-efficacy is the confidence in your abilities to be able to do something on your own. So I think that confidence and independence really goes hand in hand. One way that you can help teach independence is doing a lot of reinforcement. So when they are doing something well, and especially when they do it on their own, you can say, awesome, you did that all by yourself. I'm so proud of you. Well done. Also, if there is a student struggling to get to the answer and they say, oh, I can't do this, you just really, really have to encourage them and tell them that they've got it, and just give them that confidence to build that independence. So there's a quote I have here, and it says, having interest translates as confidence to do and be on your own without expecting a man to do or be for you. And confidence is attractive, not to mention independence. So this just really goes along with the idea that you need that confidence to be able to have that independence. And it kind of says that as in it's attractive, as in it is a really good quality to have throughout your life. So I just think it is a really important thing to teach your students. Tip number 5 is being authoritative. So there are 4 different types of teaching styles. The first one I will be talking about is permission. This is being pretty apathetic and placing few demands in your classroom. Permissive teachers don't really get their students in trouble or give the students opportunities to problem solve on their own because they usually are seen as sort of babying their students. So this lessens a lot of opportunity in the classroom. I've seen this in the classroom and it makes it pretty chaotic. The students didn't really mind very well because they knew there wasn't going to be very many, if any, punishment for the things that they did wrong. The next one I will talk about is detached or uninvolved. This is when a teacher doesn't ever really form connections or relationships with her students, so the students don't feel like there's really any relationship there. When I saw this in the classroom, the students just came in and did their work because they had to. Since there was no relationship with the students and the teacher, they kind of just sat there and did their work and then left. There was no extra fun or conversing because the teacher didn't really know the students, and the students felt like they didn't really know or trust the teacher either. Next, we have authoritarian, and this, of course, is being the authority in your classroom. Whatever you say goes, and there's not much room for students to make mistakes. A lot of the time, authoritarian teaching styles have a lot of negative comments towards students doing something wrong, whether it's behavior or academically. They a lot of time are seen as scolding their students, which lowers their confidence and makes the students really honestly scared to be in that class, and this is something that you never want to be. So on to the last teaching style. This is authoritative. This has proven to be the best time and time again. So being authoritative is building a relationship with your students and allowing them to know that you are there to help them be better because you care about them. It's really about building relationships that make them feel safe, heard, respected, trusted, and loved in your classroom. And when the students feel like they have that respect from their teacher, they're more likely to respect the teacher back. So this picture here kind of just shows some traits that I think are great for being authoritative. So if you are trying to be authoritative in your classroom, think about these things and also just building those relationships. That is very, very important. Alright, you've made it to the end of my video. I hope that you have enjoyed it and found all of these tips very helpful for you. Starting out in your first years of teaching can be really stressful, so I think using these tips that I have provided for you will help tremendously with classroom management and motivation. All of these things that I've talked about are pretty easy concepts, and I think that any beginner educator can really benefit from these. So I hope that you take these with you in your future. I know that I will be using these to benefit me in my future, so I hope that you will take these with you and that they will benefit you well. Thank you so much for watching and good luck.